Okay, me again. So in this second video, I want to focus on citations and how to cite your sources and look at the template for the essay that I shared with you as a Google Doc last week. Okay, let me start there. Here is the template. So here's a way of imagining the organic structure of your essay. Instead of counting paragraphs and writing the 5-paragraph essay, think of yourself as doing these things organically. So you're making a claim and defining or clarifying that claim. That is the work of the introduction. What's your central claim? Put that claim into context. Kind of get a little hook for the reader. Like, what's the central claim that you're making? Why are you making it? What does that claim really mean? Okay, that's the defining part. That's the work of the introduction. And then we move to a problem. Okay, you've made this claim, you've put it into context, you've made it sort of interesting for the reader. But what's the problem, or what's the question that you're really trying to address here? And then the body paragraphs are moving toward a solution to that problem or an answer to that question. That's the sense of organic structure here. You make a claim, it raises a problem, and then you move toward the solution to that problem. That's the work of the body paragraphs, however many there are. And then once you've kind of worked the problem out or answered the question, well, what are the effects of that solution? Or what are the implications of that answer? That's the work of the conclusion. Okay, and that usually is a full paragraph. Okay, and so I've broken that down here. We can talk about that more tomorrow. Sort of what do you look for in a good introduction? What do you look for in the first body paragraph or in the body paragraphs of an essay? How do you hold it together? How do you maintain the sort of organic structure of the essay? And then sort of what are we looking for in a conclusion? But here I want to focus on the works cited page. Okay, the 5 pages, the 1250 word count, that covers the introduction, the body paragraphs, the conclusion. And then tacked onto that is a works cited page. Okay, what does that look like? Well, you can go to our website, and in the content area, you can find a couple of things. First, the extra readings for the essay assignment. These are also contained in week 4 of the weekly content module. Dixon's essays looking at Gilgamesh, the Wall of Uruk, Alterity. Okay, these are 3 essays that you could read for topic prompt number 6. And these are just PDF documents that you can open up and read. There's also the Mitchell introduction, which you can read online through the library website. Those extra readings are also contained here in this link. And under useful links, we have a citation guide. Okay, so if you click that, it takes you to the Prairie State Library citation guide, which looks like this at the welcome. Talks about why we cite sources. It defines plagiarism and gives the kind of code of academic honesty for Prairie State College. Okay, these are things we can talk about. If you have questions about plagiarism and how to avoid plagiarism, you can read this web page. You can read what the library has provided here. But if you still have questions about that, you can go to this plagiarism guide by a former librarian, Matt Root. Or sorry, I think he's still working for us, excuse me, by one of our librarians, Matt Root. So that's a good guide. So those are things you can read on your own. But I want to take you to Mla Style. And this is one way of formatting your essays and your works cited page. You can choose APA if you prefer. I'm just going to show you MLA. So first of all, we have a good example here of different types of media and the basic format for citing them in your works cited page. Author's last name, author's first name, title of book, publisher, publication date. So we have an example here. If you're using a journal article, again, we have an example of how to cite a journal article, an example and the basic format for citing a newspaper article, an example and basic format for how to cite a website. Okay, so those are useful, just quick looks. But I encourage you to go to Excelsior OWL, that's Online Writing Lab, or Purdue OWL, Online Writing Lab. That's at Purdue University in Indiana, and Excelsior is a college, I forget where. Okay, but this is what the Excelsior guide looks like. And this is a page Excelsior College Home, Writing Lab, Navigation. And here we have over on the left the different um, table of contents, and it tells you what they have here as far as the guide to writing. So there's a general guide to the writing process, and there's a general guide to research. Those are useful things to read. We can talk about them in another context. But here I'm looking at the citation and document. So the general guide to citation. And here you go down to Mla Style. We're looking at Mla. And we have two big subheadings. Mla in-text citations and Mla works cited page. Let's start with the works cited page. So I've gone to print books. Okay, we're reading Gilgamesh and Genesis. Those are print books. And there are different types of print books. Some have a single author. Some have multiple authors. Some are authored by multiple people. But some books have no author, and that is Gilgamesh. We don't know who wrote Gilgamesh. Okay? So for a book that has no author, you just start with the title and then the publisher and the year. However, in this case, Gilgamesh, we also have a translator. So here's an example of a translated book. Now, since we don't have an author, so this is a book called 100 Years of Solitude. I'll blow it up so you can see better, by a guy named Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So here's a translated book with an author. Gabriel Garcia Marquez, author, 100 Years of Solitude, title. And then we have translated by Gregory Rabassa, that's the translator, then the publisher, Harper and Row, and the year of publication. Now for Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh is a translated book, but without an author. So we would just start with Gilgamesh, translated by Stanley Lombardo, Hackett Publishing, and then the year. And you can find that information in the title page of the book. Okay. Same thing with Genesis. We don't have an author for Genesis, but we have a translator, right? Robert Alter. Okay, so here's a format for how to put the entry for the two major books on the works cited page. It's a translated book without an author. Okay? But then the works cited page is there so that you can go from your in-text citations directly to the citation on the works cited page. Again, if you're using the Dixon articles to write about, that's an example of a print journal article. Okay, and so it'll give you the format for how to cite a print journal article, and all of the format details for MLA format for citing a work on your works cited page in different formats are here. But then the other part is the in-text citations, where you're quoting or paraphrasing from the text that you're citing in your works cited page. Okay, so here we'll go up here, and we have let's say single author, where what you're doing is citing in your essay, there we are, in your essay, a quote from a single author. Okay, so for example, let's say you're quoting a book by a guy named Calvert about Marx. And so here's a good example of how to structure a sentence in your writing that makes an in-text citation. So according to some experts, Marx, who's a philosopher, an economist, used, quote, class in, quote, two different ways. So there we have the quotation, and those quotations are not from Marx, but from Calvert's book on page 11. So we have the author and the page number in parentheses. Okay, that's how to do an in-text citation. The quotes, and then followed by parentheses with the author and the page number in the parentheses. Now, why is it important then that we do it this way? Well, when we look at the citation in your text, let's say you're writing about Calvert, so we see in the parentheses Calvert, now we know where to go in the works cited page. When we went to the works cited page, presumably we would find a heading starting with Calvin. Okay, so going back to this print book, we would find an entry in your works cited page that said Calvin and his first name, and then the title of his book, and then the publisher and the year. So we would know we had the page number in your in-text citation, but that would take us to the full reference when we went from the in-text citation directly to the end of your paper in the works cited page. Okay, so what I'm trying to get at, just going back here, okay, the reason we put the word Calvert here, the author's last name is because that's going to be the first word in the citation on your Works Cited page, Calvert, and then it'll give you the rest of the entry. Okay, so that's very important that the name or the word in the parentheses corresponds to the first word of the relevant entry in your Works Cited page. Okay, so you can go through here and look at other ways of citing sources in the text of your paper. This is just sort of the classic example. But notice, even if you're just paraphrasing, so let's say it said, according to some experts, Marx used the idea of class in two different ways, but you didn't have quotes. Well, you'd be paraphrasing something Calvert said, so you'd still need the in-text citation. You wouldn't need the quotation marks, but you'd need the parentheses with the name and the page number. Okay. So I think that's good for now. I just wanted to say a few things about citing sources and talk a little bit about the organic structure of your essay. We can talk more about this in class, or you can email me with specific questions about your essay or your Works Cited page. This is also something we can discuss in office hours. A great moment to set up a time to meet with me in Calendly so we can talk about your essay. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.